Everyone says iPhone upgrades are about cameras. The reality is Apple is fixing the one thing that makes recent iPhones feel dated, the front. When you see the iPhone 18 Pro Max display in real life, it hits immediately. Today we are talking about the iPhone 18 Pro Max leaks and why the display may steal the whole show. And recent iPhones have started to feel stuck in place because the front design barely changes year to year. That is why the biggest early whisper around the iPhone 18 Pro Max is a display redesign that finally looks meaningfully newer. Multiple leak circles keep pointing to a noticeably smaller dynamic island. Not gone yet, but reduced enough that your eyes stop fixating on it. The moment that cutout shrinks, the entire phone looks more modern, even if you do nothing else. And that is the point. Apple does not need a wild curve or a gimmick to make the phone feel fresh. Apple just needs to get out of the way and let the content take over the front glass. Now imagine scrolling a long page, watching a match, playing a fast game. A smaller interruption up top means less visual clutter and more immersion. Even people who do not care about specs notice when the top of the screen looks cleaner. But there is another display detail that could matter just as much: how Apple handles brightness, efficiency, and motion this year. Some leaks suggest the Pro Max panel could push higher sustained brightness while also improving power draw during everyday use. That means the phone could look punchier outside and still last longer. If Apple pulls that off, it is the kind of upgrade you feel every single day without ever opening a settings menu. Now here is the twist: the display might not be the biggest change anymore. Because the next set of rumors points at something you touch more than the screen edges: the hardware buttons. Apple has been flirting with the idea of new button designs for a while, and the iPhone 18 Pro Max might be where it gets real. The talk ranges from a redesigned camera control button to more pressure-based input across the side controls. That would change the everyday feel of the phone in a way that spec sheets do not capture. Think about it: volume adjustments, quick camera actions, and muscle memory while pulling the phone from a pocket. If the buttons become more pressure sensitive, Apple can make them more consistent, more durable, and potentially more customizable. The question is whether it feels premium or feels unfamiliar. And before we go further, there is one feature we need to cover first, because it connects the front experience to everything else: the cameras and what Apple may be doing under the glass. Flip the phone around. At first glance, the camera layout still looks like the Pro Max pattern you already know, but the rumor that keeps getting repeated is not about a new shape. It is about a new baseline. Leaks suggest every lens could finally move to a 48-megapixel sensor. If that happens, it is a major shift because it can standardize detail and color across focal lengths. You take a photo, you switch lenses, and it looks like the same camera system, not three different personalities fighting each other. Then there is the headline rumor: a physical variable aperture system on the main camera. For years, phone cameras have leaned on computational blur to mimic depth. It can look good, but it can also look fake, especially around hair, glasses, and tricky edges. A variable aperture changes the game because it gives the camera real control over light and depth, wider aperture for more light, and a softer natural separation, narrower aperture for sharper group photos, and better control in bright scenes. If Apple really brings this to the iPhone 18 Pro Max, portrait photos could stop looking like a sticker cutout and start looking more like actual optics at work. And night shots could benefit too. Real light control means less reliance on aggressive processing, better highlight management, more natural textures, less of that painted look in shadows. That is the kind of camera upgrade that quietly raises the quality bar, even for people who never think about sensors. Now add the style layer, because Apple knows the phone has to look different in a store display. Rumors keep circling new finishes, including dark cherry, light blue, and refined titanium tones designed to stand out instantly. If Apple does dark cherry correctly, it could become the color people recognize from across a room. But there is also a risk. Apple sometimes plays it safe, and the real-life finish can look more muted than the hype. The good news is that titanium finishes have been getting more interesting, and a bolder color could be the easiest way for Apple to make the iPhone 18 Pro Max feel new without changing the silhouette. Now we get to performance, and this year it might matter more than raw speed. The A20 Pro chip is rumored to deliver around 15% faster performance, but the bigger headline is efficiency, with whispers of nearly 30% improvement. If that is even close, it does not just mean faster app launches. It means less heat, steadier gaming performance, and better battery life across everything you do. And then there is the modem story. Apple is reportedly pushing its in-house cellular plan further with a C2 modem. More stable connectivity in crowded areas. Stronger signal behavior. Better battery management during weak reception. Those are the unglamorous upgrades that make a phone feel expensive because the experience becomes reliable. Now for the feature almost nobody expected to evolve this fast: satellite connectivity. The rumor is that Apple wants to expand satellite support beyond emergencies into standard messaging, meaning you could send texts when there are no towers nearby. Picture a long road trip where coverage disappears. A hike where you still want to check in. The storm outage when local networks struggle. If Apple enables normal messaging through satellite, it turns a rare safety tool into an everyday advantage for the right people. And yes, there are big questions. How fast is it? How much does it cost? Which regions get it? Whether carriers push back. But even the attempt signals something important. Apple wants the iPhone to be more independent of traditional networks. Battery life also looks set for a jump. Leaks suggest a larger 5,200 mAh battery. Pair that with the A20 Pro efficiency talk, and the iPhone 18 Pro Max could land as one of the strongest endurance phones Apple has ever shipped. That matters more than people admit, because battery anxiety is still the #1 daily annoyance. Now the camera control button. According to leaks, the camera control button could lose some capacitive swipe functionality and move toward a more pressure-sensitive design. Some people will call it a downgrade because swipes feel futuristic. Others will call it a smart move if it improves durability and lowers repair costs. Apple rarely walks backward on features unless there is a reason. If this happens, it suggests Apple learned something about accidental inputs, long-term wear, or real-world damage. And now we hit the big question hanging over the whole lineup. Will an eventual iPhone Fold Ultra overshadow the Pro Max? If Apple is preparing a foldable, it changes how Apple positions the largest iPhone. The Pro Max becomes the best classic slab phone. The Fold becomes the new status device. If both exist, Apple has to make each one feel essential. That is why the iPhone 18 Pro Max needs a visual upgrade you notice instantly. The smaller dynamic island and the cleaner all-screen direction might be Apple making sure the Pro Max still feels like the modern flagship, even in a world where folds start stealing attention. So here is the real takeaway from all these rumors. The iPhone 18 Pro Max may not win you over with one insane feature. It may win by fixing the daily experience: a cleaner front, smarter buttons, more consistent cameras, stronger connectivity, better battery, and satellite messaging that turns dead zones into usable moments. Apple looks ready to upgrade those exact friction points with the iPhone 18 Pro Max. If the leaks are right, the most exciting part will not be a spec you brag about. It will be the moment the phone feels cleaner, smoother, and more dependable in your hand. Keep your eyes on the display, because that is where the future look starts. If you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more exciting tech news and updates. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.